Hello LMC students, my name is Robert Pierce. I am the campus editor and social media editor for the LMC Experience, and I'm here this week with...
My name is Anthony Martinez. I'm the photo editor here at the LMC Experience. It's my first semester as photo editor, and I'm really excited to have this opportunity to talk with Robbie and have a conversation here today. So thank you very much for inviting me.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's Monday, September the 17th, and this is episode 2 of Back Talk, the LMC College Experience, the Los Medanos College Experience official podcast. And so to start, some of the big issues from last week's paper. A big one was the Young Americans for Freedom 9/11 memorial. It was kind of a two-part story. We talked about the memorial itself, which was they planted almost 3,000 flags, 2,977 miniature flags on a patch of grass near the library. And that number is significant because it's how many people died in the original September 11th terrorist attacks. And so the actual memorial, I saw them setting it up. I saw them once they had it all set up. They also had a panel where they were sitting by the memorial setup and answering any questions that any passerby had. And it was a very nice memorial. A lot of the feedback from students, from faculty was very positive. But unfortunately, the other part of the story is that some of the posters they used attracted a bit of controversy from students, from faculty. So the main focus of the story was definitely the memorial, but then we also touched on the posters. You can see it right here. The main headline is Club Remembers 9/11, but the subhead is Posters Anchors Some.
Yeah, and I think it was a great idea for LMC to actually, commemorate, what happened or remember the people who died on that day. But I think definitely could have been handled in a better way, and maybe in a more respectful way as far as the advertising and maybe the marketing for that went. I remember personally I was kind of taken aback by, the visuals I saw for the poster, and it kind of concerned me,
Yeah, you took some pictures at the event, right?
I took some pictures of them setting up the event. I think what the end result was actually pretty impressive, and I think it was good on the club to do this for the community, for the people, and just remember.
Yeah, and I talked to LMC President Bob Cradaville, and he said that in recent memory there hasn't been any memorial events in the past couple of years. There was most likely one when the actual attack happened a year or the next 2 or 3 years after, but there hasn't been one in a while, so it was definitely really cool that they did this. Another big front page story was the enrollment surge. So we had Nick Campbell. He went and talked to a couple of people, most importantly Kevin Horan from Instruction Student Services. And the current enrollment for this semester is at 103% of their original target, and that's for specifically full-time enrollment. So they had a projected number. I'm not entirely certain what the exact number was, but they had a projected number of students that they wanted to have enrolled full-time for the semester as a target, and their actual enrollment numbers are 103% of that number. So we're essentially over capacity. And so that's led to things like the parking issue that we talked about last week in the paper. Not this last week, the one before that, the first issue. It also led to classes that give out ad codes on a lottery system. You have a lesser chance of actually getting into the class. So Nick talked a lot about that in his article. It's a very good article, and it's going into some of the effects of it and also potentially some of the causes, because a big one was the first-time full-time free tuition program. That drew in some extra numbers. But people are also saying, so some people in administration are saying that it's a little too early to tell if that's the main contributing cause. It might be some other things, like the economy really likes certification, certificates for stuff like E-Tech and P-Tech, which LMC kind of specializes in. So it's a number of factors that might be contributing to it. It's definitely a multifaceted problem, and we're just going to have to see throughout the semester how that plays out.
Personally, I feel like LMC should have had some sort of plan for this, just in case this happened. I mean, it was almost inevitable that at some point they were going to exceed their capacity, and I feel like LMC kind of should have put forth a special program or a special, what if contingency kind of plan to deal with this sort of thing. To deal with the crowded parking lot, to deal with, you know, all the students in the class, to make maybe a better lottery system. And I even heard too from our voices section that maybe a good idea would be to have a preferred enrollment. Mm-hmm. So, you know, where people from a previous semester who have already, you know, been to LMC, DVC, mm-hmm. you know, some other community college in the area, are maybe favored over other students who are new and who have almost, you know, no sort of relation with the school.
Yeah, I sort of had a similar plan because obviously LMC, it's a community college, it needs to be accessible as possible. Mm-hmm. So I hate the idea of like discriminating against newcomers, but also, yeah, people who are 75-80% done with their coursework, to miss out on a class that they really need would definitely be rough. Do you know if there is a priority enrollment system?
I do know that basically, I don't know there is a priority enrollment system, but I see how there's definitely an issue with that, because if someone who's actually been to the school longer than someone who's like a newcomer, and they miss that first day, they're automatically dropped from the class, making it, so basically I feel like they should have more priority, but there's no way of really indicating that because you never know who's parking, you know what I mean? And so basically that means that someone who had a place lost their place because of someone who doesn't have a place.
I mean, yeah, specifically with the parking, I mean, obviously, it's not like they can press a button and there's a new lot. Mm-hmm. You know, these things do take time, but I hope that within the next calendar year or two that they maybe build another lot or they expand one, or they maybe, I don't know, get a contract with a local business to have reserved student parking across the street. But I definitely hope something is done about that sooner rather than later. Even just pushing people towards Brentwood could maybe cut the stream in two.
Offering more classes for sure. Yeah. I think especially with the satellite campus being under construction, I think that's going to resolve a lot of issues. Hopefully they're able to provide more classes out there, and I don't know, that way it would just make it more accessible for people who are living maybe more on the countryside of the East Bay. You know, the Byron, Knights, and those people have to travel far just to go to Pittsburgh. So it'd be nicer to have, you know, how would you say, like, you know, divide the population and just make it more accessible, like as you said.
Yeah. Some other stories that were on the front page was progress on the Student Union complex construction. We got some pretty nice drone photos out of that story. We also have an update, well, not an update, but a little bit of a summary on the Transfer Agreement Guarantee, or TAG program, which, if you're new to the campus, this is basically a program that LMC, and it's an agreement that LMC has with a couple UCs, where if you do your courses in a specific way, your transfer is guaranteed. You don't even have to, there's no waiting period to be like, did I get in or not? You just submit the paperwork and you're in, and you're going to be at that college next semester for sure. So we've got a write-up on that, and it's also something you can find more information of at the LMC website. Not the Experience website, just the actual college website proper. Getting off the front page, we had a pretty loaded perspective section. We had a column by Dale Sater on globalization. We had a column by Alex Camilli on the death of Mac Miller. Our editorial was on the Serena Williams and Naomi Osaka tennis match. Jesus Cano did a sports column, not on the perspectives page, on the sports page, about the gender pay gap in a lot of sports. And we had a letter to the editor on catcalling, obviously being against it. But so there was definitely a lot of really good columns, really strong writing that week, and they're all available on the paper or online.
I feel like, you know, those are columns that really make the difference. You know, these are really, for the most part, important conversations that need to be had. You know, whether it be through you know, catcalling, or, you know, the whole Serena Williams incident, which gathered a lot of controversy. There are a lot of people divided on that, and I think these are conversations that should be had.
Specifically with the Serena Williams thing, it was not so much about the ruling itself, it was some of the political cartoons done in response, because I don't know if you've seen them. I don't have a way to link the picture to the podcast, sorry audio listeners, but there's one from an Australian paper that was rough. And people drew some pretty not great cartoons over it. And so it kind of triggered sparked the whole, like, political correctness gone too far debate that always comes up in this situation.
Well, let's try to be as blunt as possible too. So we can't show the listeners what we're talking about. But I mean, let's just tell it as it is. It was an Australian cartoon that was fairly racist.
I think I would say unambiguously.
Unambiguously is a good word, I think. I mean, it's just like I understand how maybe some people disliked her attitude overall about the results, but I think it just. I mean, it should have been handled to just a better capacity. I mean, that's unacceptable. I didn't expect this from, an Australian cartoonist out of all people.
It was the Herald Sun, specifically. So if you haven't seen that yet, honestly, just Google Serena Williams cartoon, and I'm sure you'll be able to find it.
I would say it's more outrageous than the end result.
Yeah.
Because while she did, in my opinion, sort of misbehave and maybe overdo it, I think the Australian newspaper did it tenfold. I
mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, I wasn't actually watching the game, but whatever she did, you can't just go out and do that. The cartoon in response. Moving on to the next page of the paper for campus, we had some stories. We had a story on the food pantry by Hillary Hetrick. We had a story on guided pathways by Alex Broom. I've written about this in the past. This is a sort of campus-wide initiative from faculty it's an effort to create a clear route for students. So it's basically this cross-level effort between teachers and administration to just provide more resources so that you can get to LMC day 1 and then day 2 know exactly what you're going to be doing for the next 4 semesters.
Okay, so it's going to be more planned out?
Yeah, and there's more details in the article itself, and then we have written other things on guided pathways in the past on the website. For sports, there's a story on LMC's volleyball, their first conference set of the season. There's a Q&A with Nick Filardo. And over on the back page, features was the back page this week. So it used to be where the back page was always the jumps, where when the story ends, it jumps you to the back page to be like, to read the rest of the story, turn to sports on page 6 or whatever. We have this. We started doing way more color issues, so we've changed it so that the jump page is page 5 and page 6 is whatever has the best photographs that week. So features was the back page this week. I probably went too technical in depth on that explanation. Anthony, you wrote on Victor Coronado. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Oh yeah. So I basically I wrote the whole profile on him last semester, and when I was in the journalism 110 class, and I feel like I picked a really interesting character for me to write about from our school. I took his class. I really enjoyed him. He's a great guy. And I really wrote about it too because I felt, especially in that time when I'd written the first draft of the article, we were going as a nation through some really tough times with like the removal of DACA. Immigrants and people of color were starting to get treated pretty badly again.
Last semester, that would have been fall 2017?
Yes, fall 2017. Mm-hmm. Or, no, spring.
Spring?
Oh, no, sorry, I'm sorry.
It happens.
My fault.
Happens to the best of us. So, calendar, fall 2017.
Yes.
So, like, August, September, that time range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm glad that I picked him.
Wait. No, that would have been spring of this year, last semester. We're both wrong in different ways.
Oh, boy. Okay.
At some point within the last 12 months, you talk to the guy.
Okay, so if you're watching this semester, fall 2018 is the one that came before this one, but not summer. That's different. But I wrote about him.
Spring 2018, you interviewed him.
Yes.
Fall 2018, it went into the paper.
Yeah. So, it took a little bit to get to this point, but I'm glad that it did. I think, maybe there's some... If you read the article, you might see things from a different perspective, which is, I think, what I was trying to maybe get across. That there you can be from another country, you can be successful, you can be a great person, and it doesn't. We're all immigrants, like we all, and especially with it being Hispanic Heritage Month, I think that's something to look back on. I'm glad that I'm happy with the end result.
Mm-hmm. Also on the features page is a review of the play Constellations by Brianna Crawford, and a review of Pop Food, an album by Jack Stauber that recently got put on CD. And so that closes out last week's paper, the Friday, September 14th issue. That was all the big stories on it, and all those stories. And normally I'd say and more, but I don't think we had any held for web. But all those stories and more from previous issues are available on our website at lmzexperience.com. And some of the issues and stories coming up this week, there's a ton of profiles planned, there's a ton of reviews planned, sports stories, obviously, stuff like that. A big one is the faculty and staff art show. The reception was earlier this week. It's open until Friday, October 12th. It's in the library. Admission is free. You can just walk right in. It's Monday through Thursday. There's one showing 12:30 to 2:30, and another 4 to 6. It's not like it's a guided tour, but they can only have it open for so long because they need attendance running it. If you're new to LMC, we do these art shows 2 or 3 shows a semester usually, and you can you walk right in. And sometimes it's the faculty one, sometimes it's the student one. Right now it's the faculty and staff, but they just have art pieces by LMC population people, and you can just walk right in and see it.
All right, and I think that's really important. We have a lot of talent. I think a lot of it goes under the radar. You know, being just in the Bay Area, in the East Bay, at LMC, I think we don't give ourselves enough credit as we should. And I think bring out that fact. I mean, it's free. You know, go support your local people, and I mean,
yeah, as long as it's open, you can literally walk right in. And yeah, that one's in the rotation till Friday, October 12th, and there's going to be a story about it this week. We've also got Nick is doing a story on voting, which I haven't talked to him that much about the details. If we're lucky, maybe I can get him on the show next week. We've got, I think I saw on the board, 2 guest columns, which we always love it when people write in, hint, hint. And then a couple different campus events, including Constitution Day, Coffee with a Cop, which is happening tomorrow. It's happening Tuesday the 18th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. in Library Room L109. So if you're listening to this Monday night or Tuesday morning, if you're listening to this Tuesday morning and you're thinking, man, I could really use some free coffee, that's happening. So go to it.
I mean,
yeah, but that's this week. That's the last week in review, and that's this week in preview. So yeah, until next time, I'm Robert Pierce.
I'm Anthony Martinez.
And this has been Back Talk. Thank you for listening.